Hi, it's Mrs. Cox with Chapter 5 of Lily Quench and the Dragon of Ashby. Chapter 5, Dragon's Flight. While Lily gathered some apples to eat on the journey, Queen Dragon took off and did some reconnaissance. She gauged the direction of the winds and measured their strength and sniffed the air for any hint of an approaching storm. The flight to the Cave of Secrets would be a long one, and there were few places for them to rest along the way. "I'm getting old," Queen Dragon explained when she came back, "and I'm not as tough as I used to be. In fact, I can't remember the last time I visited the Singing Wood. It must be centuries." "How old are you?" asked Lily as they readied for takeoff. "Oh, about 3,000 years or so," said Queen Dragon carelessly. "I've forgotten exactly. Dragons don't worry about birthdays much. We have too many of them." They took off, and Lily watched the island of apples with its sheep and ruined huts disappear behind them. She was rather sorry to see it go. The sight of the daisies and other wildflowers waving in the breeze made her itch to get down and start growing things. In Ashby, when she tried to plant things in the garden, the smoke from the grommet factory killed everything. Bulbs, trees, flowers. Lily would go out in the morning and find them shrivelled in the beds, and none of the seeds she planted ever came up. Old Ursula had never understood why she found it so upsetting, but Lily knew it was something she'd inherited from her mother. Maybe if things changed and Prince Alwyn returned, the Ashby Botanic Gardens would be filled with flowers again. But for the moment, the grommet factory ruled. In the castle throne in Ashby Water, a meeting was taking place. The lights were dim, for night had fallen, and all power had been redirected to the factory. Outside it was raining, and an occasional flash of lightning sent an eerie shimmer across the mahogany tabletop. The Black Count's portrait looked down from above the throne with a sinister eye. Miss Moldavia paced the room, her hands clasped behind her back. "The grommet stockpile is down by 30%, ladies and gentlemen," she said. "Not only that, since the dragon came, production has slumped to an all-time low. This morning we received a letter from the Count himself advising us of his unhappiness. If the factory's output is not back to normal by the end of the week, he has instructed us to relieve all of you of your positions as directors." "And you all know what that means," snarled Captain Zoosh. The three directors quailed. "Yes, all ex-directors will take their place with the grommeteers on the factory floor," said Miss Moldavia. "I suggest, ladies and gentlemen, it would be wise to give some thought to how you might stop any future dragon attacks. Now Lily Quench is gone, it might not be so easy to get rid of the dragon next time." "Are there no other Quenches left?" asked a middle-aged woman with sharp-looking teeth. "We believe not, Crystal." "And a good thing too," quavered an old man. "There's enough talk among the grommeteers as it is." "Talk? What talk?" barked Captain Zoosh. "Nobody in the factory is allowed to talk. It's a rule." Crystal gave a nervous laugh. "I'm afraid, Captain, it's a difficult rule to enforce. You see, no matter what we do, the grommeteers see each other out of hours. They all live in the same buildings. They eat in the same canteens, so they chat to each other. They have nothing else to amuse them." "They are obviously not working long enough hours then," said Miss Moldavia. "If I were you, Crystal, I'd put them all on double shifts until this crisis is resolved. May I ask what sort of talk there is between them?" Crystal looked rather sick. I'm really not sure. To be honest, I don't have that much to do with them." "I can tell you," said a voice from the other end of the table. Lightning struck, and there was a rumble of thunder. Everyone swivelled their chairs round to see who had spoken. Miss Moldavia folded her arms. "Evangeline, perhaps you'd like to share your knowledge?" The youngest director stood up and cleared her throat. Ahem. She was slim and dark-eyed, with a pretty face and glossy black hair across her forehead, but her face was very thickly made up, and her mouth had a downward turn that made her look dissatisfied and grumpy. "There's talk in the factory about the old days," she said. "That's what the Grommeteers call the time before the invasion. Of course, the older ones remember it. They say one day Prince Alwyn will come back and Ashby will have a king again." The room went deathly silent. At last, very quietly, Miss Moldavia spoke. "How did you learn this, Evangeline?" Evangeline blushed. Across the table, Crystal shook her head disgustedly. She was Evangeline's mother, though she usually pretended she was her sister. "I know," Crystal said. "She's slumming it down in the back streets with her disgusting friends. They dress up as Grommeteers and go and hang out at the factory bars." "It's all right, though," said the old man, Harold. He was Evangeline's grandfather. "Without a Quench to crown him, Prince Alwyn can never become king." As if he realised he'd said too much, he suddenly went silent. The room was still. Miss Moldavia could have heard a pin drop. "I see," she said. "Maybe we'd better have a proper explanation of this Quench business as soon as possible. In the meantime, Crystal, I want all the old Grommeteers together and I want them working double time. Evangeline, keep your ear to the ground. If anyone is caught telling stories about the old days, send them to me. And now I think we'll call this meeting to a close." The directors and Captain Zoosh gathered up their things and left. Only Miss Moldavia remained. For a long time she stood, staring at the picture of the Count above the throne, while lightning flashed and the rain pattered endlessly on the castle roof. Then she picked up her papers, switched out the light, and silently left the room. The sun was going down, and the stars were starting to come out over the Southern Ocean. Flying across the sea, Lily and Queen Dragon had made fair progress since leaving the Island of Apples and were starting to think about stopping for the night. "There's an island up ahead," said Lily, pointing. "Maybe we should stay there." "An island?" Queen Dragon peered through the clouds. I haven't been there in centuries. As I recall, it used to be uninhabited. But there's fresh water and a nice sandy beach. It will do for the night. Hold on, Lily. Going in." Clouds brushed wetly against Lily's face, and a moment later they emerged beneath the cloud into clear air. Ahead, she could see the island quite clearly. Its boomerang shape was dark against the water. There was a bay on the protected side, and it was covered with tall trees. But although it was too dark to see much else, there was no doubt about the lights which twinkled along the shoreline. "Queen Dragon, I don't think the island's uninhabited anymore," Lily gasped. But just as the words left her mouth, there was a whiz, a thud, and a soft cry from the dragon. Her wings faltered in mid-stroke. She lurched and tried to recover. Then her eyes rolled back in her head and she started to fall out of the sky. Queen Dragon, what's happening? Lily shrieked, but Queen Dragon was unconscious or dead and made no reply. Out of control, she spiralled down towards the lights, a wickedly barbed arrow pointing from between two scales. The force of the air rushing past her ripped Lily from the dragon's back. With a shrill scream, she flipped backwards, head over heels, and then plunged like a falling star into the sea.